Hello and welcome back to Pop Culture Graveyard. I am Hollis, and this week I'm going to detail a massive vinyl haul. A couple of dozen kick-ass records. If you're watching on YouTube, you're going to get a heaping helping of vinyl, and if you're one of my patrons, you're going to be getting even more vinyl. And as usual, it is all killer, no filler. So wash your hands and clip your fingernails, because here comes the vinyl. Before we get rolling, if you're enjoying the content I'm bringing you from week to week and you would like to help support the show, please consider joining my Patreon. It's at patreon.com/popculturegraveyard. And thanks. I'm going to kick things off with a very special record by one of my all-time favorite artists, Shiny Beast, aka Bat Chain Puller. This is by Captain Beefheart and the Magic Band. I already had a copy of this fantastic late-era Captain Beefheart record, but there's something quite special about this one. As you can see in the upper right corner, this is a promo copy, but that is only one thing that makes this special. This record came from the collection of Howard Hesseman. That's right, Dr. Johnny Fever on WKRP in Cincinnati, one of my favorite sitcoms of all time. Anyway, when Howard Hesseman passed away, his wife Caroline came into possession of all of his records. And the guy I bought this from was tasked with selling all of Howard's old records by his good friend Eric Bonners. Eric's dad was Peter Bonners, who played Jerry the Dentist on the Bob Newhart Show. Anyway, Peter Bonners and Howard Hesseman were best friends. They had been in the comedy troupe The Committee together, along with Carl Gottlieb, who was one of the writers of the Jaws movie. Anyway, Howard Hesseman had a pretty cool record collection. The guy wanted $50 for this, but I made him a much lower offer and he took it. And I'm very happy to say that I've got one of Dr. Johnny Fever's coolest records. As for the record itself, this is a sort of reimagining of the album that would have been Bat Chain Puller. That album was supposed to come out through the record company started by Frank Zappa and Herb Cohen. The Bat Chain Puller album would not be released until years after this one. If you think Captain Beefheart is too inaccessible for you, check out the songs Bat Chain Puller, When I See Mommy I Feel Like a Mummy, and The Floppy Boots Stomp. If those don't grab you, this record isn't for you, but I love it. I got another couple of great Captain Beefheart finds that I want to show you very quickly. One is a white label promo copy of my all-time favorite Captain Beefheart record, Lick My Decals Off Baby. I already had a copy of this album, which was on Frank Zappa's straight label, but this white label promo sounds amazing. And I was very happy to stumble upon another white label promo, this time of the Captain Beefheart album, The Spotlight Kid, which again I already had a copy of. But anytime you can upgrade to a white label promo copy, I suggest you do it for three reasons. One, you know you're getting an original pressing. Two, they went out mostly to DJs, radio station personalities, and journalists. And a lot of those people didn't really play the album much. Sure, some radio station copies are out there that are beat to hell, but by and large, if they were sent to an individual, they didn't see much play. So the vinyl is usually in phenomenal shape. And the third reason is they're fairly rare. So they not only maintain their value, but they grow in value. So if you see one for an affordable price, kind of a no-brainer. Up next, Elvis Costello, this year's model. This is an original UK copy. You'll note the difference between the UK copy and the US copy. You see the color strip, which most of the time is not supposed to show, but this is designed by Barney Bubbles. Yes, that Barney Bubbles, who designed all those great albums for the Stiff label, including Ian Dury and the Blockheads, The Damned, other Elvis Costello work. When the founder of Stiff, Jake Riviera, moved on and founded Radar Records, Barney followed him, and this album came out on Radar Records. And this happens to be my favorite album by Elvis Costello. I have always loved this pressing, and I've been looking for a pristine copy, which I found. This wonderful fake mistake that Barney put on the side here, which results in Elvis's name and the title of the album getting cut off, is such a wonderful punk rock move. It originally came with a 7-inch single, and when I got this gorgeous copy, it did not have that single. But I managed to go out and find a really great copy for $7, and I was able to pair them up again. One side of which featured Elvis and the band doing a very interesting cover of Neat, Neat, Neat by The Damned, his old stiff label mates. And the other side featured a song called Stranger in the House, which is this really cool kind of country track that you might know from Elvis's Taking Liberties collection. By the way, this pressing sounds amazing. It was mastered by George Peckham, aka Porky, as in a Porky Prime cut. And it would usually say a Porky Prime cut in the dead wax of the record. This one, however, features a telephone number that people could call in. And the first 1,000 people, I believe, to call in would receive an autographed photograph of Elvis Costello along with a special pin. So that's pretty cool. All right, let's fly. The Big Heat, Stan Ridgway. Stan Ridgway used to be the lead singer for Wall of Voodoo. Yes, that's him singing Mexican radio. This entire album is great. All of side 1 especially is mesmerizing. But if you only listen to 2 songs off this entire album, make it the first songs of each side. That is the title track, The Big Heat, and Drive She Said. That is this album firing on all cylinders. I fell in love with this album when it was released, when they used to play songs off it on my beloved childhood radio station, WLIR. Very, very cool sound. Up next, Nilsson, Aerial Ballet. Nilsson Schmilsson gets all the shine, but in my estimation, Aerial Ballet is the far superior album. It is a masterpiece. I know what you're saying. Hollis, you're such a huge Nilsson fan. You tell me you don't have that album already? Yeah, I do. But, and this is a big but, this album is super rare because it kicks off with a song that's not available on the regular album that you know so well. I'm talking about Daddy's Song, a song that the Monkees paid for and used in the film Head. The first batches of Aerial Ballet that were released featured Daddy's Song on side 1. Most of the copies that you'll find out in the wild kick off with Good Old Desk rather than Daddy's Song. At the 11th hour, I believe Monkees management wanted the song all for themselves and paid an awful lot of money to take that song off of Nilsson's album so that there wouldn't be competing versions of the songs. But both versions are fantastic. Up next, aukeed, Pharaoh Sanders. Left turn, free jazz and spiritual jazz godhead. Pharaoh Sanders is one of my favorite jazz artists because he is not only difficult and challenging at times, but he can turn on a dime and create some of the sweetest sounds you've ever heard in your life. I've been on the hunt for an original pressing in great condition, and I finally found it. Check out the fantastic track Upper Egypt and Lower Egypt to see if this record is for you. Up next, Gary Newman, White Noise. This is a 2-disc set of live tracks from his Berserker tour, and it was put out on Gary's own Numa Records. I really love the live, sometimes abrasive editions of a lot of these songs. I'll put a link below so you can see what some of these songs are like. Check out Down in the Park. Units, Digital Stimulation. This is one of the greatest synth punk records you can ever get. In my Live from Dallas episode, when I went to Josie Records, I found the Units album they did after this. But I said in that episode just how great this album is. It's a perfect album. This is on 415 Records, and if you see this in the wild, jump. Check out the songs High Pressure Days and Cannibals to hear this album firing on all cylinders. Up next, The Avengers, one of the best punk bands ever. This super cool band was fronted by Penelope Houston. This album is on CD Records. They are known mainly for their masterpiece of punk aggression, We Are the One, but you should definitely check out Car Crash, I Believe in Me, Open Your Eyes, No Martyr. Hell, this entire side is great. And the band even kick off the other side with Paint It Black by the Rolling Stones. As I said earlier, the Avengers are not just one of the best punk bands in San Francisco. They were one of the best punk bands anywhere. Do not sleep on them. Did someone say the Stones? Yes, No Stone Unturned. Isn't that a great cover? There are all the Rolling Stones with their backs turned. Boom! And there they are frontwise. This is my favorite incarnation of the Stones, back when they still had Brian Jones, who was definitely a little devil, pitchfork in hand. This is a UK release on Decca that I got for 20 bucks. And this is a compilation from 1973. And this is basically a collection of odds and sods that the band probably didn't want released. But after they left Decca Records was like, okay, clean out the vaults. The Stones were wildly popular in the early 70s, and Decca wanted to capitalize. So there are plenty of really great B-sides on this, as well as covers like Poison Ivy. They even do Money, which you may remember the Beatles used to cover early on. So I think it's just a really fun, cool collection, and it captures the Stones at their most garagey. Up next, Berlin, Love Life. This is in gorgeous condition, still in the shrink wrap, and I am a sucker for hype stickers. This features the successful single No More Words, which you probably know, but I implore you to listen to all of side 1, which is pretty much a perfect side of music. If you're in a rush, just listen to the very first song, When We Make Love. Great synth pop album. Up next, a tribute to Repo Man from American Laundromat Records. You can see that wonderful artist's rendering of the Repo Man poster. This was released on Record Store Day of last year. I am against Record Store Day. I think it's amateur hour, but every once in a while they have a release that I think is charming. And charming for me is this little hype sticker in the shape of an automobile air freshener. This is, of course, cover songs of all of the songs on the Repo Man soundtrack, which is a fantastic soundtrack. It features Matthew Sweet, Frank Black, Mike Watt, and several other punk and new wave luminaries. And one final cool touch, aside from the label, which will remind you of the opening credits of Repo Man, is the glow-in-the-dark vinyl. How cool is that? And if you know the movie well, the stuff that glows in the dark of the automobile trunk is a major plot point. So that's just a stroke of genius. Up next, Eric Burdon Declares War. This is not the cover of this album. This is the back of the cover, because I think it is 10 times cooler than the front cover. As you can see, it is a promotional copy with the DJ sticker. But there's Eric Burdon on one side and Lee Oskar on the other side, the lightest members of this troupe of Eric Burdon and War. And all of the shirtless men here, it's just such a cool look, repeated in the reflection on the bottom. And the label itself is yellow, the disc jockey yellow. Here's what the front of the album looks like. I think you'll agree it's way less cool than the back, so that's how I house it. And I will put a link below to an awesome video of Spill the Wine, the earth-shatteringly great song off of this album. I also lucked out with their second album and last album Eric Burdon did with War, The Black Man's Burden, which is a very clever play on words. This one is a 2-disc set, and it is also a DJ promo copy, this time with white labels. But I just have to show you how cool the inside gatefold is. It folds all the way out, and again you see these wonderful children of nature known as War. Why can't we be friends with guys like this? Up next, Bronski Beat, Small Town Boy. Small Town Boy is one of the greatest songs the 80s ever produced. Vinyl collectors can be very fetishistic. Everyone goes crazy, and rightly so, over Goodbye Horses by Q Lazarus. That song was aided by its inclusion in not just one, but 2 Jonathan Demme films, and its current status as an evergreen background to memes. I consider Small Town Boy by Bronski Beat to be every bit as great of an 80s song as Goodbye Horses. This is the 12-inch version, aka the disco version, aka the super long version, and the 12-inch version is really the way to experience this song. It is 9 minutes long, and as far as I'm concerned, it's still not long enough. Up next, the Young Canadians, aka the K-Tells. Big thank you to Brado, who sent this to me, one of my beloved patrons, and I'm very grateful. This is really cool, aggressive, young and snotty punk from the late 70s and early 80s. The band originally went by the name the K-Tells, but they turned into the Young Canadians and are revered today as some of the finest punks to ever come out of Vancouver. Yes, like DOA. I'm going to put a link below to the song Hawaii, because that is the song that made me fall in love with the Young Canadians. So I implore you to check it out. For the rest of this week's episode, please join my Patreon at patreon.com/popculturegraveyard, or click above for more free content.